Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. And welcome back to Crazy for You Live. I know this morning you are excited and wondering about all the beautiful things that are coming your way from Mode at Rowan. I know I am. And so I have David McLeod, Rowan brand manager, back with us. You remember him from our spring yarn tasting, and Trisha Malcolm, who was here on Wednesday night. So I'm super excited to have them both here to do a deep dive into what Mode at Rowan is bringing you for fall, winter 2020-21. So if you're here, I know that you love Mode at Rowan. Go ahead and tell me, give me a thumbs up in the comments or a yay, Mode at Rowan. If you've knit anything by Mode at Rowan, please put that in there because I'd love to hear what you have done. So if you were able to join us on Wednesday night, you know that you saw Trisha presenting the fabulous runway show concepts. And you know that runway life is not real life. Runway is very concept, very fanciful, very over the top. So it gives everybody an in-your-face look at trends and styles and things like that, and how that gets sort of smoothed out and presented for real life is what we're looking at in Mode at Rowan. So as you know, this line is fashion reflective, not fashion forward. So that means that the kinds of trends that you generally see have been made accessible and wearable. And that's what I love about Mode at Rowan, that it does look at those beautiful trends and brings you something that you can knit now and wear and have in your wardrobe for lots and lots of time. So good morning, Gwen. Hi, Jal. It's nice to have you. Amelia and B, wonderful. Okay, so let's see. Amelia loved the poncho trend. Awesome. All right. I think that's going to be really, really big. Gwen working on the long line cardigan. Excellent. Good. Yes. Okay. I know we have a lot of people working on that. Hi, Norma. Hi, Eveline. Good morning. So today, like I said, we're going to do a deep dive into those, and I have Trisha and David here, and let me just bring them up on the screen. Now, I will tell you that we've been having just a smidge of technical difficulty. Here we all are.
Oh, there we are. Look.
Okay. So David, as you know, is in Great Britain, and Trisha is in New York. Hey, everybody.
When it's Ellen says good morning, it's actually good afternoon for me. I do have my very British cup of tea with me. I am working from home, so if there's any background noise like dogs barking or phones ringing, I do apologise ahead of time. But I guess that's acceptable in this new modern virtual world that we're living in. And I guess it's the same for you, Trisha. You know, you could have something happen in the background.
I could. Yes, I have two young adults living here with me, and sometimes you can see them run across from the bedroom to the bathroom.
How very real. Because I got to tell you, Trisha, from my perspective, your background, it's almost like one of those Zoom backgrounds that you put in. It's so beautiful. It's such a chic, it just screams chic New York apartment. So
I've dressed mine with some of my garments from the Rowan archive. So
yes, and mine I've used my sweaters to cover up my printer. So it's all very real and not real. So it's sort of like the fashion show.
Amelia.
Right?
Pets required to show on camera, and that actually may happen because I do have one particular dog that does like to join my international calls for some reason. So that may happen at some point.
So, David, how's the weather there? Middle of September? I remember it being very fallish.
Well, it has definitely changed. It is getting darker quicker at night in the UK, and we are moving into the autumn. But it's actually been really nice today. I've been out and about in shorts, and it's been quite warm. But then tomorrow, it's predicted to be really cold and windy, and it's very typical for the UK at this time of year. Very changeable.
Yeah. And what about in New York? What's it like in New York, Trisha?
We've been, very, very warm. It's been quite a hot summer, but the last 2 or 3 days and this weekend, it's definitely getting cooler.
Yeah. So what I've noticed is, so this is big on my mind. I'm taking my son Colton to college tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
We're flying to Oregon, as he says, to the fiery infernos. So as if COVID weren't enough, I'm taking him to college where it's on fire. But it's been interesting. It's so frightening. But I've noticed the sunsets have been really striking because of the particulates, and I understand that that's happening, kind of all over the world, that it's being impacted. Are you seeing that at all in Great Britain? Yeah. So
we're seeing it here definitely, and we're getting some nice sunsets in the evening because of that. But it's because of a not very good reason initially. Yeah.
Exactly. So as I said, we're going to be doing a deep dive into mode at Rowan and for this season, and I'm super excited about it. And I just had some questions I wanted to ask you both about it. I love this collection. I really do. I love how mode, not just this collection, but kind of the line in general. I love how you keep it really tight. I noticed that the collection 3 is really tight, focusing on just a few yarns. And so I kind of wondered, how do you do that? So this year we have Alpaca Classic, Alpaca Soft TK, Brush Fleece, and Big Wool, and then the 2 new yarns in this. So how do you decide what yarns are going to be featured in the main collection?
Well, it's a bit of a two-pronged process because the mode collection is brought to us by Quail Studio as a full concept. So they pitched to myself and Sharon Brandt, the brand director, about what they want to do each season. And then we share that with the team as a bigger concept so we can have more open discussion about it. So actually the initial ideas of what yarns to include comes from them, and that is very much led by their trend forecasting and the trends that they look at. And actually, chunky cardigans, long line cardigans, if that's in there, then they obviously want to include a particular yarn to meet that trend. And they also come to us with the color palette that they want to offer for mode for that season, because every season that mode is out there, it has a particular color palette for that season. So it initially comes from them, and then it's a bit of a back and forward between the brand and the Quail Studio as a provider.
Okay, so that was my next question about the colors. So the same thing. I love that they have this kind of cohesive color palette and everything. I mean, it really does sort of feed into that capsule wardrobe concept.
Yeah.
And like last year, if you knit any of the things sort of in that blush colored Alpaca Classic, it feeds into this year. So you can continue to build a wardrobe with these garments. And I think that's great. And it's so kind that, you're not going crazy back and forth, so that, peach is all the rage this year. Well, next year peach is gone and it's teal everything. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's also really nice to have those base colors. Like you've got these soft grays in there, and then you've got the soft taupes coming through now. And I think both of those are like anchor colors.
Yeah.
And once you have those established as your base palette, then you use, things like the pinks, and then this season bringing in that little touch of red and the navy, and they all work together. So it really doesn't matter what colors you really bring in, as long as that base palette is set and stays there. I mean, if people, for instance, someone loves a different color that isn't in that palette, it will still work with the base colors. And that's what I think is really lovely.
Yeah. One thing I also noted, go ahead.
I was just going to say those highlight colors that Trisha was mentioning, those reds and maybe the blues this time, that is what we change each season. The base colors basically stay the same, and we just update the trend color. Now we have to predict that trend color, and this is part of Trisha's trend prediction service that she provides for us, is we have to predict what that color is going to be, or it's certainly what tone that's going to be. We have to do that 18 months in advance. And I have to say, most of the time we do pretty much get it. But, it's a bigger, wider trend that we see across not just knit, across all fashion, all wear, all, even homeware feeds into it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that the Pantone color kind of even drives
exactly.
appliances and automobile paint and all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So what I noticed about the fall, the very first introduction of Mode, and it's sort of, you see this still, is that there's sort of a cool palette and a warm palette. There's these warm creams and the pinks, and then there's this sort of gray and the blue, and that's sort of nice because people do tend to fall into sort of warmer, cool tones, and they can build in that direction. So I guess you thought about that. It doesn't happen by accident.
Within the palette, the pink and the blue that feed into those two color stories you're talking about, they sort of cease being pink and blue and actually become neutrals themselves. And that's what I find really interesting. It's like, if you go to paint a room white, there's 1,000 shades of white.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think having those soft colors become neutrals is a really lovely thing. It's this very sort of soft palette that's very flattering. One of them is going to be flattering on everybody.
Yeah. I think that's sort of a blush color that's sort of nude. I mean, that's my favorite. I love all kinds of warm, cool pink, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, it does. And it does sort of flatter the skin. So I know you guys have a super awesome presentation, and I know everybody wants to see it. So if you want to figure out how we're doing this, we'll share screens.
We'll try.
Bear with us. We will get this.
So obviously this is the presentation that we share to show what we do for a season. Trisha's going to actually drive it. There is a little movie with some audio on it, which is a behind the scenes. So you get to see behind the scenes of the shoot that we did. And then we will both talk over the other slides and just kind of give you a little bit more information about each thing that pops up.
All right, so I'm gonna put your full screen and let's go. I'm excited.
Boom.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. So as I said, that's a little insight into a shoot. Could we try to do the actual stills and the video all in the same day? We have a lot of people around, and we work with 2 models, and it can be a very busy day to try and get it all done. Because also, as Ellen said, we're shooting 2 different colorways. There's the blue tonal colorway, and then there's the warmer side where we're bringing in the red tones as well. So what have we got there?
So this is in the new yarn, right?
Yeah, so this is in the soft boot clay, and actually, what we're doing this season is Collection 3 is launching in itself, and it supports the core yarns that Ellen mentioned at the start. And then we have a separate collection that is actually just focusing on the 2 new yarns that are coming into Rowan, and they're being launched through the Mode Collection. We're going to show you those as well, I think, aren't we, Trisha? They're in this presentation.
I think so.
Okay,
I
good.
think so. Yep.
Yeah, I've seen those as the yarns that must not be named.
Well, we
I
can
think
tell
we'll
you
name
about them
then.
now, because
Yes.
they are actually they do officially launch to the market on the 1st of October. So everybody that's here today is getting a very special preview from us. So
Yes.
This yarn was especially selected because of these 2 coats here. This is that whole teddy coat trend. And so this boucle is such a lovely lightweight yarn, and it is perfect for giving this sort of look, you know. And another thing about it is, you know, boucles can sometimes be a little sort of scratchy, but this is the softest boucle I think I've ever felt. And it knits up absolutely beautifully. Now, just a little aside, these coats initially were knit in seed stitch, and they came in, and the team at Mode didn't really like them in seed stitch. So flying back and forth to Vogue Knitting Live from the UK is when these got finished, ready for a photo shoot that week.
Yeah. Because what was happening in the seed stitch, it was just taking some of the texture out and flattening it out. And actually, the idea was that we have that teddy bear look. So we went back and had them knitted again, just so we could do it properly.
Are these in garter or reverse stockinette or what?
They're garter, I think. Oh. See, now, this is the thing between UK and American terms. So, Trisha, you're probably better to answer this than me.
Okay, it's in stockinette, David, because if you look at the underside of the coat, you can see that it's reverse stockinette there.
Right. Okay. Good.
Sorry. We are going to get a couple of things, like we'll have different answers.
Well, the gilet, because I'm doing the gilet in this right now as a sample, and that's in seed stitch.
Yes.
Or moss stitch, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful, beautiful yarn. I mean, it's so silky. A lot of times you think of boucle kind of, and we can talk about this on the 3rd, because we'll be back on the 3rd for yarn tasting with this. So if you're interested, go ahead and order that pack in the comments.
Can you go to the next slide, Trisha?
Yeah, this is a gilet, but it's so silky. You know, boucle tends to sometimes have loops, but the ends are open, and it gives you that so silky, beautiful feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely yarn.
So, I mean, obviously we've called it soft boucle because that's exactly what it is. So, and the other one,
fan of that, aren't you, David?
If we're doing things exactly what it says on the tin.
Exactly.
The other yarn is so soft boucle. Just to give you the little definition detail on it, it's a 45% cotton, 23% alpaca, 22 merino wool, and 10% polyamide. Polyamide is there because it's a boucle just to hold it together. It's the way the yarn is constructed, and it comes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 colors in total. And then just again, get through all the technical information very quickly, and then we can get back to showing you. The second yarn is called Merino Aria. It's 100% wool, merino wool, and that has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 colors within it, and it's a chunky lightweight, and it's got a very soft halo about it. It's a very soft and lightweight yarn, and that's why it's called Merino Aria, because aria is Italian for air.
Great stitch definition on that yarn too.
Yeah, it takes the stitch really well. So.
Okay, so shall we talk about this now, David?
Yeah, sorry.
So one of the trends that I found in the runway collections that was really, really important this year is this whole concept of head-to-toe coverage, covering yourself head to toe in knitwear. And so this is how the team at Mode interpreted this. So they have these incredible, incredible pants that are ribbed. Then we've got a really beautifully textured tunic, and then a very cute little short poncho in seed stitch, and then a matching seed stitch hat. And it is all about this cover, cover, cover. And interestingly, the spring-summer fashion shows are on at the moment. And I was looking through them a few days ago, and I actually saw a pair of cream-colored rib knit pants. So that was interesting.
Good. We've got that trend right then. That's good.
Yes.
I mean,
You nailed
it does.
it.
This comes back to something that Ellen said in her intro as well about capsule wardrobes and collections. That's what mode is supposed to do for us, is actually, that is a garment set of layer, as Trisha said, but actually you could take those elements out and put them with other pieces from the collection, and it does actually work as a capsule wardrobe collection as well.
Absolutely. And there's, you could do this in, all cream is gorgeous. It's really, stunning. But you could also do it in different colors, like different shades of grays, maybe dark gray for the pants and lighter grays for the other pieces. Personally, because I live in New York, I'd want this all in black. I wouldn't take it off. But, there's a lot of, options there in terms of color and personalizing. Okay, this is a close-up of the tunic that was underneath the poncho. I love the subtle texture in this. I think it's really lovely, and I think it'd be super interesting to knit that.
Yeah.
Rather than just knitting straight stockinette all the time. It's just lovely to do something.
I mean, and then those little like the slit on the side just makes it a really relaxed, easy garment to wear. So, when you're wearing that, you can move freely, you can sit in it, it's not going to bag out because you've got that movement of the slit down the side as well.
And this was another trend that came up in the fashion shows too. This whole idea of what I call the slouchy turtleneck sweater, and that's the sweater for this season. And it's there's two main shapes for this season, and this is one of them. This slouchy turtleneck, and it's the sweater that you can live in. You can knit this and you can put it on pretty much every day, whether you're lounging around at home or whether you're heading outside and then it's under your coat or whatever. I think it's just a very wearable, comfortable piece.
I love this one because so often the intersection between what you want to knit and what you want to wear is small.
It can be very small, yes.
But this fits that. It's going to be fun to knit, but it's also elegant and simple and clean looking and not fussy and busy.
Exactly.
And that's something that we try really hard with in mode, because we're conscious that they need to be simple shapes and elegant to wear and simpleness, but we also concentrate on putting texture in there, so it's not the plain old knit. There is actually a bit of interest there for the actual knitter as well, because what we've got to remember, this is a hobby. It's not as well as knitting beautiful things, it's a hobby for people.
Absolutely.
Yes. It's very true, and I think that's something that we always need to consider, because people can go to a store and buy a sweater, and it's the process of knitting and the feel of knitting and the enjoyment that comes from knitting. It's why we make clothes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. The other sweater shape that's really important this season is the V-neck sweater. And here it's, this is a great sweater in that it's simple, it's quick to make. We have two versions in Alpaca Classic and Merino Aria, and the Alpaca Classic, I believe, is held double. So it makes it, much faster to knit.
Yeah.
And here, it's paired up perfectly with these pants. Notice too the wide sleeve and the relaxed fit. And, you could personalize this too by making it longer, or you could make it shorter. There's, the crop trend is still definitely a thing. But there's a lot of versatility, and this is a great basic sweater. I mean, you could knit this in a couple of colors and be very happy.
Yes.
In the thing.
Sorry, David? We lost David?
I think he's frozen. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Okay. So this sweater was put into the collection this season because they wanted to include something that was perfect for beginners, that pretty much anyone starting out could make. And this has some lovely qualities to it. There's nothing like garter stitch, and big wool shows garter stitch off so perfectly. And then what I love too is this big face framing garter stitch collar. And I think if you're a beginner knitter, the only difficult thing that you may need a little help with is just picking up those stitches around the neck. And then after that, you're set. It's a really simple, striking piece. Again, you could personalize it and make it longer. You could put slits in the side. There's so much you could do with it. I just think it's absolutely lovely. And I love this beautiful blue. That's the blue we were talking about earlier. That's an accent color for this season.
Yeah.
And then they designed this great big cowl in I'm not sure if it's actually a brioche rib. I can't remember now, or just a straight rib. It looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah. But this big cowl.
It's a mistake rib, I think.
It could be too, yes. But it's added to the top of the sweater. It makes the sweater just look that much more cozy. But also on its own, that's a great project.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful.
Good. And it's knit in big wool. Both of these are knit in big wool. And, I'm sure, Ellen, big wool's got to be one of the staple yarns that you sell in your store, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I have it on almost every color.
I'm sure.
It's a beautiful yarn. It's so quick.
I'm guessing, right?
What's that?
You've got all the new bright colors as well, right?
Oh, they are so fun and fabulous. They really do. I mean, there's such a nice pop,
Yes.
David's back.
I am back. I apologize. I am having some internet issues and it just keeps dropping out for absolutely no reason. So it's not that I'm not speaking to any of you. It's just one of those little foibles I'm having at the moment.
So this big cowl, Trisha, sort of also speaks to that trend you were talking about the big hood coming up and feeling very protected.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Also, to go with this sweater, the team put together these cute beanies, which are, again, garter stitch and just rib. So it's a very simple, this is a great beginner project, and it just takes one ball of big wool. Last Christmas, I knit a one ball big wool hat for someone, and it took me like no more than 3 hours. So this season, I am going to be churning out quite a few of those. They're great gifts, really great gifts. But it's nice to, one of the things I love about what Mo does is they pull together the whole look, Yeah. And I think it's just so pretty when it's all there.
But when we do the design selection, that's what we do. It's selected and then we lay out how it's going to work in pieces that are photographed together and how it becomes that wardrobe that we mentioned.
So David, Michael just pointed out, you were right, Trisha. It is a fisherman's rib, a little brioche.
Okay.
Yep. That makes it really stretchy, nice and stretchy.
And that's, a lot of people like to do brioche and want to learn it. And that's a great beginner project to get in there. And I think if you really wanted to with this, it'd be very easy with this rib to do it in 2 colors as well.
Absolutely.
It'd be a great thing, as a tryout to, get your brioche skills up. Like I could see it in these 2 colors held together, alternating.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
And that would sort of tie them together. When you have an accessory that has 2 colors, it sort of ties the different garments together for you in your wardrobe.
Exactly. And my favorite color combination for doing 2-color brioche is black and white. I just love how it looks. It's so cool.
Very striking.
Yeah. Okay, here's the teddy coat we were talking about before. And here it's styled over the top of the V-neck sweater. And then we have a round neck sweater as well, crew neck.
Yeah.
Because one of the things about this collection too is we wanted it to include pieces that are real wardrobe builders that you knit this year, but you can still wear them for many years to come. We invest our time in our knitting, and it can't just be for one season. It really has to last longer than that.
Yeah. So throughout this collection, as Trisha said, you'll see that those base garments are repeated, but they'll be knitted in a different color, and so it makes the base capsule again work.
Yeah, and sometimes there'll be slight variations like sleeves and things, which we'll show you in a few minutes. This piece is gorgeous. Again, it's the big slouchy turtleneck that is such an important shape. This one's designed by Georgia Farrell, and Georgia she's a very young designer, and she hasn't been with Rowan for very long, but she has a massive of potential and masses of talent.
Mm.
And it's going to be really interesting to watch her career. What she does is she looks at buildings, and then she takes aspects of those buildings and she sketches and photographs them. And then from there, she develops patterns. And this sort of is like a sawtooth pattern that runs up the sides of this sweater.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just very simple, but it looks so cool. And it gives just such a completely different dimension to the sweater. And the other thing I like about it is because the way it sort of comes into the side, it actually makes the sweater more slimming. And I think that's a really lovely element, you know?
Yeah. And going back to what we said before, it makes it an interesting knit again. So you've got some texture there to play with as you knit.
Exactly.
That is beautiful.
It's gorgeous. And that's the merino area again, which again shows that stitch definition just beautifully.
Yeah, beautifully.
And fast. It's like size
well, yeah, because it's chunky but light. So that's a big sweater, but it's not a heavy weight to wear either, because the yarn is actually, modern spinning techniques allow us to make chunky yarn that is light and lightweight.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, I remember when we first saw this yarn, when we were looking at yarns, you know, because David, that might be interesting for people to know how many yarns that came into the office.
Cool.
And then you end up with what, four new yarns.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've literally started to be looking at autumn winter for next year just now, and I have boxes and boxes in my office. We get so many samples, and that's nice that, you know, a lot of spinners still want to work with us, but it's really just an edit process. We take it down, we look at what we need to add, what is the trend, where the gaps are in the season, and then we bring in the wider team. So, like, you know, Trisha will have a look at what we're looking at. Some of the designers will have a look at. It's not one decision within Rowan, it's a team thing, because obviously, you know, we need to pull influences from all over the other markets, and also knitters themselves have a very different opinion to designers. Sometimes the actual people that want to knit and wear those garments give us a better insight too. So it's a lot of pulling information together and seeing what people like.
It's a process that goes over a couple of months as well. And one of the things, because I'm fairly new to Rowan, one of the things I found like amazing was when I was in the office, you know, say people who answer customer service calls, they might have a little break and they're sitting there actually testing yarns. Yeah. And people write their thoughts down on the yarn. And I mean, it's a great process, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And they like their thoughts down. And then because also they're the people that, they're actual knitters. They do it for a hobby, like we all do, but they're the ones that actually have an influence on, you know, what they would spend their money on, what is worth it. And, you know, and that's a huge thing for Rowan. We always want to bring you the best, most exquisite yarns that we can, but we want to make sure that they're fit and for purpose and do the job properly. So
exactly. So moving on, it's always important to have a scarf, and these 2 scarves are knit in the new soft boucle, and they're nice and long, so you can wrap them around a couple of times. And the only difference here is there's fringe added to one and not the other. And if you look at that fringe, you can really see the quality of that yarn and the construction of it. It's a very lush fringe.
Yeah, it's a yarn that you'll stroke.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Just in the ball, you know, it's like a kitten in your hand.
That's a huge teller for us, is when we're looking at yarns, it's like if Trisha comes in, I can throw a ball of yarn. If she picks that up and goes, ooh, then that is a huge thing, because it has to have that ooh factor on it for us. It has to be special.
Exactly.
Even in the yarn store, we get the same thing. I mean, you know, whether the yarn has shelf appeal, right?
Exactly.
If I hand it to a customer and they're like, ooh, same thing, absolutely. And some yarns have it.
Exactly. And shelf appeal matters.
Absolutely.
In the store. Absolutely. This is one of my favorite pieces. Oh, sorry, David. Do you want to do
no, I was just going to exactly say what you were saying. It's one of my favorite pieces and never seems to go away. That long length cardigan. It's a trend that is always there because it's an easy wear and it's daytime into nighttime wear as well. And I guess most knitters, most people have that long length cardigan in their wardrobe. So.
It's such a flattering look because it leaves you with that great long vertical element at the front.
Yeah, exactly.
The lovely thing about this too is it's knit with a strand of Alpaca Classic and Alpaca Soft DK held together. So it makes it a faster knit. And I'm a big fan of the faster knit because I don't have a lot of time to devote to knitting. So I love when this happens. You know, I also love the fact that the 2 new yarns this season knit at a bigger gauge.
Yeah.
Because when you're strapped for time, you know, I don't have time for, you know, fine lace.
No.
It's not in my agenda. But this is because 2 yarns held together. And I'm also a huge fan of the 2 yarns held together thing because if you experiment with that, you can actually create a fabric that's really quite amazing and that it's unexpected.
Yeah.
And I think that's always really cool.
It's like playing with your own yarn development, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know, that the 2 yarns together in that garment, the fabric is chunky, but it doesn't read chunky. Do you know what I'm saying? It reads much finer than that. I wouldn't have, somebody had said, oh, that's a chunky. I wouldn't have thought that. It doesn't look bulky at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I guess it's because it's giving you that slight melange look. It just diffuses it slightly.
Mm-hmm.
And also, too, it's alpaca, and alpaca has a certain lightness in its being.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helps, you know, make it appear less chunky. And also, the greys are slightly different to each other, and the mottled effect they create beautiful. Okay, this is another one of my favorite pieces this season, is this gorgeous wrap. And this is designed by Annika, who works in the office at Rowan. And she's been doing some really cool stuff, David, don't you think?
Yeah, well, she's a bit of a scarf designer, although she does do garments too. But it's just interesting that, you know, Trisha's saying that she works in the office. She's a designer, but she also looks after the trade marketing and out into our German markets because she's a native German speaker. So it's like it's about actually using people's talents and then they're invested in the yarn and the brand as well. And, you know, nobody has one job within Rowan. Everybody does 2 or 3. And this is Alpaca Classic again, which is just... I can't tell you how nice this is in real life, this scarf, because it's so long as well. Alpaca Classic's a really good and affordable yarn, so you can afford to do these longer pieces for it. But it's just really light and beautiful to wear.
I love the design too. You know, the diagonal striping, it's very striking. And sometimes I think people are afraid to put grey with cream. You know, grey sort of traditionally more with white. But I think the lightness of this colour palette is just gorgeous, and I think they work really well together in an unexpected way. And if you have these 2 colors in a wrap, you can wear it with pretty much anything you own. Yeah,
exactly. And it's a little bit different than a normal stripe and can be worn with anything really because it's diagonal.
Yep. And also too, you can scrunch this up and make it into like a regular scarf if you don't want it to be a big wrap like that. Loop it through. There's loads of length, like David said. It's gorgeous. And I also love it's got a tiny little 3 or 4 stitch edging as well to hold it, like a garter stitch edging to hold it in place. And the sweater she's wearing it over is the cream version of the sweater with the zigzags.
Yeah, the grey tunic sweater that we saw earlier.
So we saw this sweater earlier underneath the teddy jacket. So this is the basic crew neck for the season. And have a look at those sleeves. We were talking the other night in the trend presentation about the puff cuff. And I was saying that I found out it's actually called a balloon cuff, David.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
I think I prefer puff cuff.
I do too. I like the rhyme. And then here's the same piece again on the right with the poncho over the top.
Yeah.
Yep. And this is knit in Alpaca Classic and Alpaca Soft DK, again held together. Yep. And just like the jacket, they don't look overly heavy and chunky.
No. I mean, what's good for us is when we're on the shoot like this and the models actually they're saying, where can I get this? Where can I get this? So we know that we've actually hit if they're wanting to wear it, then we know that we've hit the trend correctly. And they were both saying it that day. So, which is good to know.
Did you teach them both to knit?
Actually, one of them did knit already. I mean, not really well, but she could knit and was really interested. So we find that quite often that those sort of models, quite a few of them do craft because they spend a lot of time waiting.
Mm-hmm.
So they always have, they quite like, a lot of them are on their phones, let's be honest, but
Yeah.
they actually, quite a few of them craft as well because they just need to do something with their hands.
This is that same sweater that we just saw, the crew neck. On the left, it's in Merino Aria. And then on the right, we're in 2 strands of Alpaca Classic. And
Yeah.
these 3 colors are the trend colors that we were talking about that have been added to the mode palette for this season.
It's a good slide for that, actually. It really shows it.
Yeah. And those colors are all great. And that brown on the left, I didn't mention that before, but that's a really strong color that we're going to start to see more of. There's definitely a trend of moving a little bit away from the grays and more into the taupes and the browns.
It's starting to warm up. That base color trend is starting to warm up towards those browns and more into the reds as well. So
yeah, exactly. I love that blue. I think that's a gorgeous color.
That brown is great because even people who can't wear brown typically can wear that kind of cool brown.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a very distinct color in brown that is really bad for most color types, and we constantly try to avoid it. But actually, this deep, you can actually can be worn by most color types within the spectrum. So
yeah,
because that's the big thing, is that's one thing that we do when we're helping people to decide what colors to look at and knit with. We actually look at their color in themselves, and what suits their skin tone best.
Okay, this is another favorite piece the models loved and the staff love, and apparently this walks around the mode office quite a bit whenever anyone gets a bit chilly. So this is like a big Ruana style poncho. It's knit in brushed fleece, which again is a big gauge yarn, so it's a quick knit. It's knit sideways, so you basically cast on front and back at in one piece, knit up, bind off the front, continue knitting the back, then cast on again and continue till you're finished. So it's a big knit, but it's not a massively time sucking
it's a
knit.
big knit, but it's going to grow quite quickly because the yarn and actually the tension that we do it at allows that speed of growth. You're going to see yourself move through it quite quickly.
Exactly. And then there's a matching hat, another quick knit hat, which is perfect for holiday knitting. And again, we've got her wearing it over the top of the crew neck sweater with the puff cuff.
Which is, we're accepting that is the term now.
Yes. Yep.
So this is the gilets that we were talking about earlier. Yeah.
Yes, this is what Ellen's knitting.
Yeah, exactly. So this is, gilets are a big thing. I mean, I'm sure you all know. It's only appeared in the last 2 or 3 years to be this big trend, because they weren't around for a long, long time, and then all of a sudden they appeared, and it's all part of this layering trend that's coming back, where you're thinking about the layering look, and you can wear your base garments again and again with the different layers on top, and that's what gilet does here. It's actually, you could wear that in multiple ways, and we're actually showing just a couple of ideas there.
And we have 2 different lengths, 2 different colors, 2 ways of wearing it. Now, David, no one really uses the word gilet here.
Oh, what do you call it?
I would call it a vest. What about you, Ellen?
Well, it's a long vest, long open vest.
Yeah, I mean, we used to call it vest, but I think it got fashionized, in, if you like, and gilet came along, but we used to call it warmer vests. But then I suppose actually that doesn't actually do it a lot of justice in that sort of sense in the UK. So
I like the term sleeveless jacket.
Yeah,
because that really is, it's got the characteristics of a jacket, that it's that third layer that sort of completes your outfit.
Yeah, and it's that layer as well. You can actually wear, maybe in the UK in the winter, I've seen girls wear coats over the top of this, so they've got that multiple layer look going on as well, because you don't have a double sleeve, so you're not puffing out your sleeve, but you've got that multiple layer over your body.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. These are pieces that you've seen, just showing it in different colorways and showing the layers.
So it's all about the pieces working together again. That's a really good shot that shows that open bell sleeve. So we have the puff cuff, we have the bell sleeve, and it's all just sleeve details. And that is a trend that you're going to see coming through. It's going to go out into the stores. It'll follow through. And I think we'll see it again in the next catwalks that we're looking at.
Yeah,
Sleeves
definitely.
seem to be a big thing, don't they, Trisha?
They do.
Yeah.
Yep. So this same sweater's knit in 2 different yarns here. We've got it in 2 strands of Alpaca Classic, and then on the right in the merino area. And I love that red. I mean, that's just my favorite color, I think, of the whole season. So beautiful. It's red without being too red.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually a very wearable red because of the depth of the color in it.
Exactly. Here's our big oversized brioche cowl again. And what's new on this page is this lovely wrap that was designed by Martin Story in brush fleece. Very simple, you know, lace pattern. I love patterns like this when you're knitting because you get the rhythm of it in your mind and you can just continue on, you know.
Yeah.
It's lovely knitting.
So this is the pattern that I would say when I was younger, I was always amazed my mum never had to read the pattern. And that's what she said, got it, I can just do it. And when it was like it was muscle memory for her. She would, you know, read it the first couple of times and then she'd be off. So as a kid, that was me sat up by her knee amazed that she was just doing this.
That looks so modern with the, you know, in the brushed fleece. It's not, you know, it's not an old lady lace. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Lace in heavier weight yarns like that, it does actually make it a more modern twist, and it is it's really interesting to see that coming through now.
So here we have another sleeveless jacket. They called it that for you, Ellen.
Thank you.
Long length gilet.
Sleeveless duster.
Yes, that too. So this is designed by Georgia Farrell, and she again is the person who's inspired by architecture, and you can see how architectures sort of define these sort of long columns here of makes it into like a very wide rib, and it makes it also very slimming because of that. Now, if you didn't want to knit something that long and you like the idea of this, it's very easy to make this into a shorter vest. It would be great just even waist length. It'd be great, you know, hip length. And if you made it shorter, I think it would look cool with some really nice buttons and turn it into a more structured piece.
Yeah.
And this is also knit in brush fleece, so it's a really fast knit, and it's a great layering piece.
So this is one of the most favorite pieces of the season for a lot of people. It's a Martin Story, and he can't go very far without doing a cable. what we call cable king, Martin. And even this is just, there's very soft, subtle cabling going on in here on the texture, but it makes a really interesting. What are we calling this? This is not a gilet. This is a coat or
this is a coat.
A jacket.
And even though this is a lot of knitting, this isn't big wool, so I think this would go super fast.
Yeah, really would.
Exactly.
Another thing too is this was knit in a larger size than the model size, because they really wanted to show this as an oversized piece.
Yeah. So I think they have actually sized up the patterns to be oversized on this individual because we actually quite like the way it looks, and it's a deliberate trend. And so the final book, it will be sized as an oversized jacket, if you like.
And this is seamed, right? You would need seams on the side,
of
course, to hold that structure in place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's too heavy otherwise, and then
Okay, so then as well as do the main collection, Quail Studio do these booklets with 4 projects. We have a little type problem here. I don't know what went wrong there. See the @
yeah.
Oh.
So something happened in the translation from one format to another. These pieces are all in the new merino area. I'm totally in love with this turtleneck, again, because I'm into the big slouchy turtleneck for this year.
Just to clarify here, this didn't actually go out as a full project. This is all brought into the book that supports the new merino area yarn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this piece, though, is great. It's mistake rib. So again, it's one of those mindless knits. but it knits up so quickly in this yarn, and this sweater is so lightweight. I just think that's one of the best basics that are here. I love it.
And it's an all-day wear. It's, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of those pieces.
Exactly. And then the snood or cowl on the top right there is just 2 balls of this yarn. And that's a great beginner project, or a great project to give as a gift if you want something fast, or if you want to try out this yarn. Below that, we have a 1-ball beanie. And then another favorite piece is this scarf with this lovely zigzag pattern. So it's almost like a seed stitch zigzag, which I think is really, the texture is gorgeous on that. It's not over the top, it's just enough.
Ginny Stein at the shop is knitting that, and it's stunning. The yarn feels beautiful, and the patterns, the stitches just really pop in that yarn.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. Also coming this season is these 4 projects that are called Haze, and that's because they use our hazy yarn. So we've got Kid Classic, Kid Silk Haze, and Cashmere Haze. Very nice, basic sweater. And there's 2 versions in that, one with a puff sleeve and one with a higher neck.
Yeah.
They're basically variations on the same. Sorry, David.
What this little 4 project thing for us is, it actually just allows us to really focus in on a particular yarn for a store or for a knitter. And what we usually try and do is just provide you with really good basics in that yarn, because we did always get quite a bit of feedback. I just want, a really good round neck sweater in Kid Classic or something like that. And this actually allows us to do it. Also, they're nice little handy sizes, so they're good travel knit garments as well. So,
I think the cardi with the girl on the chair there is a great piece. People love knitting that sort of lacy, feathery fan stitch.
Yeah, it's almost like a scallop going up the side, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a really interesting thing to knit. So I think that's really lovely. And I can't. Yes, Kid Classic and Kid Silk Haze.
Yeah, and Cashmere Haze is. Oh, sorry, that's Kid Classic, Kid Silk Haze work together, and then also we have Cashmere Haze there's this scarf in the bottom corner there. Exactly,
and that's a lovely yarn that came into the collection last year. Beautiful.
Yeah. It's a beautiful yarn. It's also better as you work with it as well. Once you've knitted again, it like any cashmere, the more you wash and wear that and work with it, it becomes more soft and beautiful and pliable.
We have that included. We have a little tasting pack they have available that people can order. And that's one of the ones that's on there. I'm excited for people to get a chance to play with that.
It's a good one to have in a taster pack as well, because it's actually, it knits beautifully. It slides on needles really nicely. But actually, as you knit with it, it becomes that softer, pliable, and you can really start to feel the cashmere in it.
Yeah, and I think it blooms out, so you can knit it on a slightly larger needle and get that very airy.
Absolutely. Okay, so then the new thing for Mode at Rowan and for Quail Studio is this thing called the Bloggers Edit. Now, when the Mode collection was first launched, there were several blogger events. There was one in London, there was another one in Germany, and I believe, did we have something here in the US too, David?
Yeah, we had one at Vogue Knitting in the US. Yep.
Okay,
they all went really, really well. Because this is new ground for us, we didn't quite know what to expect. We did one in the UK, and then we had one in Germany at one of the trade shows, and we actually got told off by security because we were blocking the aisles. We just were inundated with people. And that's really nice that Rowan is still really current for a lot of people and still well respected within the knit world, and that the new knitters coming through recognize that what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve.
So from all of the bloggers that came to these events, Mode actually began working with 4 of them, and these are people who are really worth following on Instagram. Their work is quite amazing, and they're very prolific.
We, we do actually work with more than the 4. This is the 4 that gone in the book, but we work with quite a few bloggers around. But you know, quite a few of them didn't actually submit for the book.
So these 4 did, and these are their pieces. And there's some really interesting things because they approach design in a completely different way than a designer approaches it. They approach it from their own knitting perspective. Anyway, so there's some really cool pieces in here that, you know, are really very interesting. Oh, so we don't have more photos of them.
I do on my presentation, but it's that would mean swapping around. But
yeah, hang on just a second. I think I can bring something up.
Okay. If not, I can do it here. But
them a little in a little more detail, right?
Yeah, it's just I've got one where it's each garment is on its own spread, so you can see a little more detail on it.
Why don't we continue on, and maybe we can do that at the end?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, so this is the bit that I thought was at the front. Sorry. Oops.
So this is the soft bit clay.
Which I've rattled through at the very front of the presentation. Sorry.
Anyway, you can see how it's
yeah.
The texture here is just adorable. It's so gorgeous. And I love too that there's some depth of color. It's not just a straight dye.
Yeah. I mean, the mix of the fiber in it too really works because it you don't feel the construction. Some boot clays you can actually almost feel the way it's constructed. This is so soft, it just feels like a beautiful soft yarn. And then when you knit it, it keeps the boot clay structure.
And here's the palette that this is in.
I would point out, apologies, that it's got UK pricing on.
That's all right.
Okay, let's move past that then. Here's our area. This is just...
So this is actually, it's almost like a chainette construction here. And what you find in modern spinning techniques is the chainette is used more and more because what it allows the spinner to do is actually work the fiber, but put air in it too. So it gives you that weight of yarn, but keeps the loftiness within it. What is really good about chainette construction is that the natural fiber tends not to pill as much when it's in that chainette construction because there's not as much rubbing.
Yeah, and it's really bouncy too. It's so nice
it
gives it a natural elasticity too.
And if you look at the color palette above, you'll see that both of those yarns have like a matching color palette, and they also play into the color palette that is Mode's palette for this season. And here's the palette.
So this goes back to what we were talking about. If you look on the left of this palette is those core colors, that the neutrals that will probably always exist within the Mode palette. And then if you look at the other side of it, the other end is where we're adding the reds and the blues. And those are when we're adding the highlight colors that are predict the trend for that season. And that's how you can see the palette will change through the years. I'm sure it will, but it will only be those highlight colors that will change. The bases should stay the same.
I think that's such a beautiful palette. For those of you that are local, I just set the entire front left of the store up to showcase, because I ordered all the yarns and all the colors for the Mode, and I'm just so excited to get that display up to show you all the colors, just so, because it's such a lovely immersive kind of palette. It's just beautiful. I'm super excited about that. Thank you. So lovely.
And that's it. That's the last slide.
All right. So yeah, Amelia said that the soft boucle looks like tribbles. Do you know what a tribble is? Any of you?
Tribble, yes, I do. From Star Trek, you mean? One of those little tribble bunnies.
Yeah, absolutely. So did anybody have any questions for David or Trisha? I think this is just an amazing presentation. I really appreciate you guys taking the time and going through this with us. The insight, I think, is wonderful, and it's so helpful to know sort of what what the inspiration is. And I mean, just the level of thought and consideration that goes into it from the style perspective and the knitter's perspective and the different, body types and shapes and all that kind of thing. It's huge.
I mean, the biggest thing for us, and Trisha will, I'm sure, agree with me on this, is actually we have to work so far ahead. So like I said, it's that 18 months. And actually, once Trisha starts doing her trend research, we kind of cross our fingers that we've actually managed to click and hit the ones that are coming through. And actually this season, it was one of those things where we're like, oh, we've actually pretty much got that bang on. And it is, because we work so far ahead, we have to make trend predictions. But we pull all the knowledge we can together to allow us to do that.
Wonderful. So customers are already asking about the Blogger's Edit book. I can't remember when that launches, when that's ready. I have to look and see, because I get this stuff and I know that I have to hold some of it back. So I try to be really careful.
Blogger's Edit is October, I think. So it's due. It's out anytime soon. So really what you have, the mode book, the main collection, that is out and was out on the 1st of September.
Right.
And quite a lot of the new collections are coming out in October. We have staggered the launch this season, and that is just purely a COVID related situation. Because Italy shut down and things were delayed and photography shoots had to be delayed, we just had to make the decision to stagger it. So, but actually what's quite nice is everybody's got something to look forward to and are coming back to look again. So we've got some new stuff coming out in October for you. So all of you that are on this call today have had a very, very early preview of what's coming in October. So
yeah, I really appreciate you giving everybody that kind of insight.
Well,
it's so much fun to get a little sneak peek.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's almost like letting our babies out there, isn't it, Trisha? Sometimes it's a bit like, ooh. So I'm glad you all like it.
Oh, everybody's been so excited about it. I mean, it's just tremendous. And I kind of like having the staggered delivery because it helps me focus on one at a time and just sort of enjoy and appreciate each as it comes, and then we can sort of each one can have its moment. And knitters only have so much time in a day, so you have time to maybe finish a thing before you can get on to the next one. So I think that's.
Terry's asked about color trends. Are they the same in Europe and the USA? I mean, Trisha's probably better to answer this than I am, but me generally, it's becoming more and more global because we live in a global world. Trisha?
I would absolutely agree. And if Terry's interested, you can go to, or if you go to Google and then you pull up Pantone Autumn, Fall, Winter 2020 New York, and then you pull up Autumn Winter 2020 London, you can see the slight differences that existed between the fashion shows in New York and the fashion shows for Fashion Week in February from London. And you'll see that there's a lot of similarities and just a few differences, but it's very, very similar.
So I've just posted the New York one in the links, and I can probably find that. Let's see if I can find that.
And thank you for appreciating my knitted background, guys. I do have quite an extensive range of knitwear because I live in the UK and it's quite nice to wear in the winter. I also do tend to get garments knitted from every season. So I don't always manage to knit them myself. I will freely admit that. But some of those behind you have been knitted by me. So.
Good job. So what's your favorite? If you had to pick one garment, you could only knit one garment this season. What's your pick, David?
Well, I'm going right. This blue one behind me is from Martin's new collection in Cape Bay. And I can't remember the name of the actual piece. It's in soft jack. And it's my new love. It's very rarely off at the moment. So because it's nice and warm today, I haven't got it on. But softjack is really trans-seasonal for us. And so for me as a guy, sometimes I find it hard to wear knitwear without looking particularly bulked up or warmed for the winter. This I'm kind of wearing as like an over jacket. So I'm wearing it to the office as well. And that really works for me. And I just love the fact that as a brand manager, I turn up and I am actually wearing knitwear. You know, it's really important to me.
Trisha, what's your favorite?
Well, what I have here
Ooh.
is I have this. And this is the chunky cashmere.
Oh,
And I love this rich blue. I think this is stunning. And there's a wonderful wrap designed by Georgia Farrell that I'm going to be knitting with this.
That you've got your eye on.
I have. And I have enough already to make
Good.
it. Again, this is, I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but this is a chainette construction, which is quite unusual for a cashmere. And this is just the softest, lightest yarn. I just think it's incredibly stunning.
beautiful.
So that's what I'm knitting.
Nice.
Yeah, so chainette in cashmere, again, like I said before, it really works well for that particular yarn.
Well, you get so much more out of it. You know, it makes it go a lot further, you know. So that softjack DK was kind of a sleeper for me. I brought it in at the end of the season and I loved it so much. I designed a little sweater that I'm doing in my, you know, it's a course I offer online. It's my first sweater class and it's using the softjack DK. And I just find continually that I love that yarn. It's a cotton that knits like a wool because knitting with cotton is not everybody's idea of a treat. But the softjack DK is just beautiful. And again, I think it's a wonderful transition, you know, so I'm looking forward to seeing that in the spring.
Yeah. If we're honest, it was a bit of a slow one for the brand, but actually what has happened is people that knit with it, it's like they tell the secret.
Right.
And then it travels. And then once you've knitted with it, it's like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So
maybe I know a lot of the same people that are on today and that are ordering the tasting kit. I have included the Scottish cashmere in that. So everyone who orders that kit is going to get a nice sample of that Scottish cashmere. And I know we're going to be talking about it at length on October 3rd when you're back here, but I wonder if maybe you can just give us a little teaser about that and kind of the history of it and the process. I know it's near and dear to your heart.
Well, so it is because my name is David McLeod. I am Scottish, so I am from Edinburgh, and the pure cashmere is made in conjunction with a company called Todd and Duncan, and they are just north of Edinburgh, across the Firth of Forth, and they call themselves the world's best producer of cashmere. And I have to say, having been up there and seen their setup, I would not disagree with that. They are very good at what they do. They source their cashmere fiber from a closed farm system, so they make sure that the people are treated fairly, the animals are treated correctly, it's all checked and cross-checked back inside themselves. It's a beautiful factory, it seems a really strange thing to say, a beautiful factory, but it's on the shores of Loch Leven. They take the water from the loch to wash the cashmere, and when they put it back, it's cleaner than when they took it out. So, because they're actually in a nature reserve. I have been to the factory and walked around, and for any of you who have ever felt cashmere in its raw state, it is like clouds. It is amazing stuff. It's just amazing. So pure cashmere for us is just something that we've been looking for a long time, for the right cashmere, and we think we found it this time. It's absolutely beautiful. It's very, very personal to me because it's one that myself and Sharon have worked really hard to get through the system. So
I'm excited about it. I ordered a pile of it, so that'll be coming. And I know that there are some designs, right, Trisha? Show that color again. Somebody made a comment on how, beautiful. That is lovely. Which color is that?
I can't remember what is actually the color shade name is called, but it's like a slow berry color. It's quite a deep reddy purple. Yeah.
And this is a big trend color for this season, this deep, rich red.
Yeah.
It's really lovely.
Yeah.
But also too, if you go to Chanel or you go to, you know, some of the big, very high-end brands and feel their cashmere sweaters, you're feeling the same yarn.
Yeah.
So this is a yarn that
What you
don't
very
normally
subtly
have.
said there is they produce for those big names as well. Very nice, Trisha.
Well, you know, it's funny. In recent years, I know that cashmere's had certainly more than its day. I mean, it used to be that cashmere was this extremely exclusive, very high quality thing. And I have a sweater, a Pringle sweater that I actually got in Scotland. And the cashmere in that sweater is completely different from the cashmere that you get from like Land's End cashmere.
Absolutely.
It's a completely different animal. And is it graded the same way as merino by the fineness of the staple?
It is. It's the staple fiber, the length of the fiber is graded in exactly the same way as all yarn is. What you find that makes a difference to the Scottish fiber, this pure cashmere, and possibly your sweater, because I would imagine that would be a similar source, is actually the loch water they wash in, because it's so soft, that water, and it does make a difference. It's like making Scotch whiskey. You know, it's the water that you get from it makes the difference to the process.
Well, it runs over the peat, and you get that
Well,
sort of
exactly,
smoky, so completely different. Yeah, I love it. I'm a Watson, McLaren, McBride, Davidson. So I get deep Scottish roots here. So I'm on.
Well, I can't hide mine with the Mac name, so.
So if you have not ordered your Rowan yarn tasting kit for fall winter 2021, please do that, because David is going to be back with us, as I said, on Saturday, October 3rd, same bat time, same bat channel. That's 10 o'clock if you're in the United States, 3 o'clock if you're in Great Britain. And we're going to be going over all the yarns, and you have a chance to knit with them and just sort of really see. And it's so nice to have the opportunity to knit with those yarns and have this guided tour with somebody who really has in-depth knowledge of how they're made and why they're made. More than you had to do.
I mean, what's good for me is actually it's a keystone of what I do, is actually making sure I get the feedback from people that actually do it. So it's interesting for me to hear what you're thinking of with these taster packs. I think they're a fantastic idea, just so you can feel and give us the true feeling of what you're getting while you're knitting those yarns.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. Amelia has a question here. Oh, yes, let's do that. I remember when we went there, we went to Glenfiddich.
Yeah.
We had a tour of Glenfiddich. That's one of the bigger ones.
Todd and Duncan don't actually currently offer tours around their factory to the public, I'm afraid. I got in there because obviously we were sourcing it, and it's part of our thing that actually, when you're sourcing and when you're spinning, somebody from the company somewhere in the world needs to go and eyeball what is happening in those factories. And that's just good practice. So I volunteered to go home for the weekend because I still have family in Edinburgh, so I still call it home. So, and then we went up and we had a look, and it was a very interesting and inspiring day.
I think that's hugely important, and I love to hear that about Rowan, because where your fiber comes from matters. What happens to the animals, what happens to the environment, what happens to the people that are spinning your fibers, and all of it. It matters. You can sort of see stuff anywhere, and
it's my history. That's where I come from. My family are farmers and have been. So actually the source of fiber is hugely important to me. And I understand what all the terms mean just because that's where I've been brought up. We have actually in the past pulled product because we weren't happy with the source. It's just one of the cornerstones that I really hold strong. And it's, something that we're going to be doing more and more of in Rowan going forward.
Yeah, I think that's really important to the quality, not just of the feel, but knowing that you've got something that is doing right by the people and the environment and the animals and all of that. And
all of that.
That's what makes a quality brand. I think that's part of your brand promise when you're with Rowan. And I like to bring that in because I think, again, it matters and people care. Some people don't, and those people probably aren't knitting their own sweaters. They're buying the cheapest thing they can get at Walmart. But for people who do care, knowing that and having that, I think is huge. So thank you very much for that.
I mean, we do. That's the one thing that I'm known for. I'm probably known for it by the spinners. Is I ask the awkward questions. I force them to tell me what's going on, find out that information if they don't know it, and I do that way before it gets out to the consumer, to the knitter.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't want any ugly surprises.
No, well, not even that. I cannot. And Trisha's the same. I know she is. You cannot promote something unless you believe in it 100%, and that's that is part of me in the way we work. So
Yeah, well, maybe that's why we get on so well, because I feel exactly the same way. I mean, honestly, if there's a yarn in the store, it's because I've knit with it and I love it. And that's why I always ask the reps, give me a ball of it. I need to have a ball of it so that I can knit it and I can get it gauges and I can wash it and I can see what I think about it. And if I hate it, it's not coming in.
Well, no, but exactly. I mean, this is the industry we're in. Everybody has to be personal and creative, and it is all about the feeling as well as everything else. But Karen's just said, especially the animals.
Yes.
Knowing the animals have been treated fairly in the production of your yarn actually is part of the feeling when you're knitting it too. You know that you're knitting with something that is been sourced correctly.
Yeah. And I would say that getting yarn in that way is not the cheapest, easiest, or fastest way to procure fiber or raw materials. But neither is knitting a sweater the cheapest, fastest, or easiest way to get garment. So it kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
All right. So we have run way over, and I apologize for keeping you longer, but it's just always such a thrill to chat with you, and so wonderful to hear about everything that goes into it and to see the line. So thank you so much for your time, Trisha and David both. And thank you everybody for joining me today. I do, like I said, I ordered all the yarn and all the colors and all the books. So I am well stocked. So do come by and see, and all of those should be on the website as soon as they're available for public consumption. And I look forward to seeing you again on the 3rd, David.
Thank you.
And all right, you guys have a lovely weekend. And until I see you again, keep knitting and create something beautiful. So thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so